Hello. Welcome to Excel TV, season number 2, episode 19. How are you doing, Sylvia?
Never better, Rick. It's another lovely December night in Los Angeles, about 70-ish degrees Fahrenheit. But I'm feeling holiday-tastic and very excited to have international guests on the show again tonight. And I'm not talking about you, Jordan, but why don't you say something to our millions of viewers?
Sure.
Anyway.
Yeah. This is Jordan. I'm happy in Cleveland, Ohio, home of the world famous Cleveland Browns. What a great team. How are you, Ken?
You know, I'm doing well, man. It's cold and wet up in Canada. We don't have any snow over here because I live on the west coast. But yeah, no, I'm doing really well. It's starting to look a lot like Christmassy time of year here, getting dark real early. So, but who cares? It's a great day to be around because we got PowerCore and we got Excel. So what does it matter?
That is true.
So what does it matter? So everyone, this is Rick, rickrantham.com, also of Excel.tv, coming to you from our Excel TV headquarters here in Northeast Florida, where today is brought to you by Mystery Orange Drink and the Old Saint Nick Rally Beard. That time of year, everybody. So next up is our Excel challenge. Take it away, Jordan.
Now, last week I asked you about Excel's internal color palette. That's that color index property. You've probably used it before when you said cell.interior, a cell of your choosing, of course, .interior, .color index. I said, how many colors are available in total? That was the question. Now, the answer to this question actually really created two answers based off of how people responded. So the correct answer I was looking for was 56, but I'll take 57. And why 57? Because one of those colors is actually clear. Now, we can debate whether clear is a color. What does everyone think? You think clear is a color? Anyone?
No.
No, okay. No, okay. Well, the thing is that it is actually it does have a property. You can set it to that. So I could see all sides of this argument. But I think that clear is not a color. But we'll take 56 or 57. Now, who was our winner? Sridhar Balad was our winner. So congratulations. You will be getting a free registration to Minda Tracy's class, sponsored by my online training or onlinetraininghub.com. So thank you to Minda for that, and I'll reach out to you to talk about how you can claim your prize. So I'm going to keep this color theme going because I actually sort of learned this answer this week based off of a post on Chris Newman's blog, the spreadsheetguru.com. So Excel stores colors as numbers. For example, if you use RGB in the red, that's that first parameter is 130. The G, that's the second one, is 210, and the B is 11. That's going to turn into this large number here. That's the 774,786. Now, here's the thing. You can actually calculate this number by hand. So my question to you is, how is this calculated? So I am looking for a formula, preferably an algebraic formula, but if you want to describe it with words, you can do that as well. But that is what I'm looking for. How is RGB calculated in algebraic terms? So if you know the answer to this week's question, you can go to our Facebook where we will post this question, or you can always tweet us, or you can go to our blog at excel.tv. Any of those venues or avenues are great places to let us know the answer to that question. And this is actually a really fun one. Because, who doesn't like math?
Wow. Never thought you'd hear that as an adult, did you? Right on cue there, Sylvia. Thank you for that.
Where'd that audience come from?
The millions of viewers we have here tonight, so thank you for that, Jordan. Next up, a very special guest from up north, Ken Puls. Ken, last time we talked with us, Ken Puls of the excelguru.ca. Last time we talked to you, you were a hardworking CIOFO/guy, I think, up there in Canada at a resort.
What did the FO stand for?
I don't know.
Because I don't know either. I'm like, man, that doesn't sound nice.
Sounds good. Financial officer, a little something like that. But since then, it seems like all kinds of stuff has been coming out from you. You have a new website, exceltraining.query, and this showed up this week
Ooh.
from Mr. Ken Puls. and Miguel Escobar. So, Ken, what have you been up to? It seems like you've been up to a lot. Would you mind getting everybody kind of up to speed since the last time we talked with you?
Sure. Okay. So I'm an accountant, and I just for anybody that isn't aware of it, the big day in Canada for accountants is always April 30th. That's tax deadline due date. So that happened to be the day that I gave my notice for the full-time job that I was working, because I figured what better day for an accountant to give their notice for. So yeah, I was working as the controller and director of IT for a company called Fairwinds. We were a big golf course, marina, and real estate development, food and beverage, all kinds of different things there. And I decided that, you know what, after 10 years of building Excel Guru up and sort of letting it grow organically and granularly, I thought it was time to hang out the hat and say, you know what, I'm done with the full-time gig. I'm going to go try working for myself and see how that works. So. And it's been good so far, I have to say. Oddly, I don't think you're supposed to be more relaxed when you start your own business, but I certainly feel that way. It's been kind of neat. We've had a lot of different things that have come out. I'm doing a lot of teaching courses now. I've written a couple of textbook chapters. I've done a lot of video training for people, and I wrote a book, which was kind of cool. And yeah, we started Miguel Escobar and I started this PowerQuery.training project, where we actually run an online training workshop, and it's live online training. So we're both there hosting this thing. It's not recorded in advance, and we actually lead people through 2 5-hour days of training working with Power Query technology to do a whole bunch of things, clean up a lot of different data files, and we go from somebody who's never used it before up to some pretty cutting edge, pretty awesome techniques that involve a deep dive into the coding language behind it. And then we follow that up well, it has been a week later. We're going to move that to 2 weeks later to give people more time to practice with a Q&A session where people actually get to submit their own questions and their own problems that they're having as they try and use Power Query, and we answer those live. And then when it's all done, they've got full recorded video of the whole session. They get a digital copy of this fantastic book here. We've had really good feedback with it. It's worked out really well. So quite a few different things going. It's definitely no rest, I'll say that.
So go ahead, Jordan.
So for our audience members out there who aren't necessarily familiar with Power Query, can you give us just a small overview, and also can you tell us about its new name in Excel 2016?
Oh, do I have to? I kind of like the term Power Query. So let me sum up Power Query in 2 words. Those words are freaking awesome. Okay, that pretty much describes the product right there. So if you've ever done any kind of manual cleanup work where you're, say, importing a text file or you're importing data from an Excel file, and you have it's not in a format that you really can use. It might have extra rows in between that you have to clean up, or it's got garbage data and it's got to be cleaned up. Power Query allows you in many instances to actually collect that data, clean it up faster than you can with just regular old Excel. But then the real bonus is that next month when you got to go do that whole job again, you just click the refresh button and it just does it on the new file, which is fantastic. So it takes a lot of wasted time and effort of cleaning data and sanitizing it, getting it into a good format, and turns that into, when you first write it, an investment in time that you can use over and over again. So you can actually now divert your efforts from from doing grunt work to actually where you can use your brain to do stuff that's actually exciting and what you're probably really being paid to do. So that's kind of cool. The new name, yeah. So Power Query came out as originally had a code name called Data Explorer, and then it came out and it was rebranded to Power Query, which came out with Excel 2010 and 2013. It was a free download that you can add and snap into your Excel. So this is why everybody should have this, because it was free to download right off the bat, and it's so awesome. And then in Excel 2016, I guess the team decided that this thing was so fantastic, they went and they integrated it into the product natively. But they were a little concerned that with the name Power being in front of it, that it might scare people away from it. So they've actually changed it now and just sort of rolled it all under one tab on the data ribbon, which is called Get and Transform. So it's kind of had its name, unfortunately, a bit neutered, if you like. I love the name Power Query because I think that's representative of what it does, and it is a powerful language to go and query data, and it's so easy to use. It's insane. So I'm not a big fan of the decision, but you know what? As long as it's in the product, I'll eventually get over it. Eventually.
Ken, do you have any insight as to why it was just Power Query and not any of the other Power BI names that were changed? Or maybe Microsoft is planning to change all the other Power, Power Pivot and all the other ones.
No, I can't say that I have any.
Why specifically that?
Let me give you this one then. Power Map
Yeah.
is now 3D Maps. They've changed the name on that one. It's dropped the power term. Look out, Jordan! You're going to get keyboard on your forehead.
No, I know.
The Power Pivot is still Power Pivot, as far as I know. Right. There's no plans to change it, but they don't. I mean, they don't share all those plans with us in advance, and even if they did, I probably wouldn't be allowed to talk about it. Power View, when you go into Excel 2016, is no longer on the ribbon by default. It's actually hidden away in one of those little commands that like the Developer tab, where you actually have to show it. You got to do the same thing with Power View. So I don't know 100% what's going on there. It's changing a little bit. So I would say Power Pivot is the only obvious power that we're going to have for a while. But again, as long as the technology is still there, we'll get used to that, whether we agree with the decision or not.
Gotcha. So, Ken, in your book, M is for Data Monkey, the Excel Pro's Definitive Guide to Power Query by Ken Puls and Miguel Escobar. In the table of contents, you have everything from aggregating Excel worksheets to importing from databases, defining data types, automating and refreshing, and all that sort of stuff. Would you mind talking a little bit about the book here? And whenever someone gets this, what could they expect from this?
When we sat down and we designed the book, Miguel and I worked really hard to try and figure out what is the most logical way to actually teach somebody to use this software, and what's the best way as we're teaching to help keep layering things on so that it made a natural progression as to how you would actually use this tool. So what are you going to find in there? You're going to find a whole bunch of stuff that's incredibly useful. We made a huge effort in here to go through and actually source real-life examples. About 90% of the data that's in this book and the data files that you download were sourced from real-world problems and just cleaned up a little bit to make to protect the innocent, if you will. The only exception to that, but this has got a different hook to it that I think is really important, is we do at one point use the AdventureWorks database, which is sort of Microsoft standard. Here's how we do things with databases. It's their sort of demo. But what we did with that one is we said, not all users of Excel actually have a good relationship with their IT department or have the ability to go and connect to a full-on SQL Server database. So what we ended up doing is we actually ended up hosting a SQL database in Windows Azure, and if you buy the book, you actually get the credentials to log on to that database so that you can connect to a web-hosted database that is running SQL Server, pull data in, and actually practice on it, even if you don't have access to a database like that at work. So that was kind of a cool thing. I mean, it's obviously a big job to build the database. It's a big job to get all these examples, but we thought that was really important to do. So we sort of start the journey easy, and we go through and we look at some basic things that some users might want to do as far as appending data and how does Power Query work with that, and then we sort of start building it up more and more. One of the things that I think was really interesting is that as we actually went through the technical editing process, we flipped where one of our chapters actually was. I had something about around chapter 6, and my technical editor was in the UK. And the very first thing that happened is he opened up his file and opened it up, and all the dates came in wrong. And we went, oh man, this is because I live so close to the U.S. border that I leave my date settings in the month, day, year format like you guys use. But in the U.K., of course, it's day, month, year. So as soon as he got all my data, I pulled it over and he went, this doesn't work, Ken. So we ended up having to take this chapter, move it all the way up to chapter number 2 to make sure we covered that off right off the bat. So this is the kind of stuff that we did as we were going through to try and make sure that when people were sort of following along in this guided journey, that things made sense and that we could try and deal with any of those kind of errors that were coming up as soon as we possibly could. So I'm real proud of this. I got to tell you, I mean, this is the second book that I've written, and I mean, I was actually just out doing a course the other day, and I sell my first book as bedtime reading for insomniacs. Perfect gift for the insomniac on your list for Christmas. But this particular book here, I think, is going to be really impactful to a lot of people. I'm really proud of what's going in there, and I think that you're going to find if you grab this book that it'll have a huge impact on the way you do things. so far, every time that I've run into a user who's dealing with very common problems that we see all the time, and actually, Oz used to be on the show here. I mean, he emailed me the other day and said, "Hey, Ken, I'm having a problem with doing this." I said, "Dude, you got to read chapter 23, 6 pages that will change your life." And he emailed me back, and Oz, right? Hot damn, it works. Well, of course it does, man. I'm telling you. So, but it's good. I mean, we're able to build these things in that for the common problems that face a lot of people. So
that was
Great.
excellent Oz impersonation there. Hot damn.
Yeah, well,
It was almost like Oz was back on the show.
it was written in capital letters and everything, man. I'm telling you.
All caps.
Oh yeah.
So the name of the book is M is for Data Monkey. So for those unfamiliar with Power Query / Get and Transform, can you tell us about M? And also, if should we be scared of M? I mean, I know the answer is no, but it is a new thing in Excel. So how do people approach it? How should we approach it?
Scared of it, man. I put a really cute monkey on the cover.
No, it's a great cover, great title too.
We actually had fun with that, actually, that one we sort of bantered it around. So M, the reason it's called M is for Data Monkey is because M is the programming language inside Power Query. And the reason why we didn't say M is the programming language inside Power Query is because nobody would buy the book if we did that. So one of the things that was actually interesting when we first started off with MS for Data Monkey, I mean, the intent behind the book was, let's go and teach people how to actually program in this fantastic language. And it became really clear as we were going through this that there's so many things that can be done through the user interface without ever having to get to that language that we wanted to really demonstrate a lot of that first. So I would say probably about the first 2/3 of the book is all user interface transformations of how to get your data, how to transform it, and whatnot. But once you actually start to unravel the language itself and start to understand it, you can amp it up. It's kind of like using Excel and then adding VBA to the mix. You can use Excel forever without ever using VBA, and you're not going to feel that there's any loss there. But once you start to understand VBA and start to understand what it can do for you, it really adds a whole nother dimension to your business analytics game. The same is true with M as a programming language. Now, just to circle on this one, it was called M, I think, because A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, were all taken. So they came up with this one. M stands for manipulate as well. I mean, this is what this language is all about, is manipulating data. It's kind of a hard term to search for, though. When you put M into Google, you come back with lots of results. So this is one of the things where I think that Power Query as a definitive name was a really good thing, because at least then you could actually hit on a term. Get and transform is also a little agnostic that way. It's kind of funny. But back to the actual language itself. I mean, we sort of layered through all this user interface transformation before we finally get to where we start actually opening up M as a language. And M, it starts kind of nice and simple with just writing some formulas. I mean, that is M, kind of like DAX and Power Pivot looks like Excel formulas. M has some differences and some similarities, so we go through those, and we actually have a chapter that goes through and compares and contrasts Excel text formulas versus the Power Query version, because some of them are similar, some of them are incredibly different. And then once we do that, we actually show you some conditional logic, how to do if-then tests, because that's really weird. They actually spell it out in Power Query. You actually type equals if, and then you do your test, and then you actually type in THEN instead of putting in a comma. It's really weird. But we go through those things, and then we have an entire deep dive into the actual language itself, and then start exploring how we can use that in different places to really amp up the game. So it kind of layers on itself. I mean, if somebody were to read the first 2/3 of the book, they're going to get a ton of stuff out of it if they never go into the M chapters at all. If they're willing to invest there, holy cow, man, I'll tell you, I mean, some of the stuff there, you want to build a portable solution you can email to anybody on the planet and it'll just work, you can totally do it if you learn just a little bit, which is kind of cool.
Cool.
Awesome.
So, Ken, how are you seeing, in general, end-user adoption of Power Query? Is it, or excuse me, Get and Transform? Is it similar to Power? Because I'm still shocked at how it seemed to take a long time for people to even hear of Power Pivot. I still go around. I meet a lot of people and in the trainings that I do and everything, and 90% of the time, and maybe we're all just lame in LA, nobody's heard of it. Why do you think?
No, Awareness is a big problem, and I mean, I don't know how you change that. I certainly don't think changing the wording to get and transform is the answer to that personally. I can tell you that every time I go and teach a class today, I end off with 20 minutes going, okay, you know what? I'm going to pack your head full of information, and now I need to switch gears, and I need to show you where the future is going, and you need to see this. And I can tell you, I mean, I teach to a lot of accountants, and every time I teach a course and I show Power Query, everybody falls off their chair. They're just blown away. And, you know, my usual ending line is that I don't care if you take the course from me, but go take it from somebody. You have to learn about this. It's going to change your life. You know, Power Pivot had a very slow adoption curve, absolutely, and it still does. I mean, I run into two people today who still haven't even heard of it. The same with Power Query. But, you know, I think Power Query will eclipse Power Pivot in terms of adoption because I think it's much more accessible to end users. The user interface is a lot more point and click, and it's actually got one of the best user interfaces I've seen in a product in quite a while, where Power Pivot is more difficult. I mean, it's not hard, it's just different and more difficult to wrap your head around than what's actually happening with Power Query. You know, I'm an evangelist, and I talk about it all the time. I blog about it every single week on my website, you know, with the different things that we can do here. I truly think it's a massive game changer. Everybody that I've had in my classes leaves excited about it because I mean, it sells itself when you see what it can do. But yeah, adoption is still a challenge. I mean, and awareness is the biggest problem. That's the biggest piece in there. The second part is getting IT to allow you to install it, right? That's the next piece there. But
so thank you for that. We're going to move over to the Excel weekly topic. Since you are the Excel guru, you're the official one, excelguru.ca. So we're going to put you to the test. Go get them, Sylvia. Go get them.
Wait. Don't Excel me. I'm going to give you some clues about a formula or an Excel or a Power Query term. And I'm going to give you some clues, and you are going to guess what term or formula I'm thinking of. And the first person who guesses correctly will score a point, and we'll try to remember to keep track of who's winning. Okay, so here is your clue. Shout it out if you think you have the answer. In Excel, this function gives you the power to round up, round down, and even alter a number's format. But your beloved pets might be terrified at the sound of it, especially during mating season. What formula am I thinking of that might terrify your pet?
Come on, Excel guru, where you at?
Oh man.
Round up, round down. The sound of it? Oh man.
The only thing I can think of is trunk.
But there's another one. This particular Excel formula will do the rounding, but you can also actually change the format of the number with this function. Kind of like the text function, but it sort of does it all in one. Nothing.
Nothing. Oh man, I'm terrible at these.
Man, you guys.
Oh god, that's great. Fix.
Fix allows you. I actually learned this today because I normally would use the text function to kind of format numbers when you need to format number in a formula, but I didn't realize you can use fixed to kind of do it all in a oneer. So for example, fixed 1234.567, comma 1 will put the comma in the right place on your number, and it will also round the first decimal point. Right? If I change this to a -1, for example, it rounds it to the nearest 0, so no decimal points. Right?
See, I just use the round function to do that and format it personally, but hey.
But round doesn't scare kittens.
Well, no. I know round won't scare kittens. Granted, I've never really tried to build my formulas to scare kittens. That hasn't been my goal.
You need to step up your game then, Ken.
I guess I do.
More than one way to skin a cat. Oh, see that. Okay. All right, so let's come back to that one. Here's your clue. Attach play to this Excel function's name, and you've got a sexy trend popular with your weird furry costume wearing performance artist friends. But among your equally weird Excel friends, this function all about trigonometry. Jordan,
Cosine. It's the cosine function, the cos.
the millennial on the panel.
Yes. Oh man, I know.
So,
I
there's
shouldn't
also
know about
sponsored-
cosplay.
That's over my head. But man,
Oh, it's better
Jordan,
that way.
I'm so going to Google that later, and I
No.
will judge you. I'm sure I will judge
No,
you.
you shouldn't Google it, but you will not find me on it if you do Google it.
Okay.
I've deleted all the pictures. No,
All right.
I'm not part of that.
Cosplay, and I would also like to point out that tonight's game is sponsored by Google Images, and if you type cosplay and math into Google Images, this guy comes up. I don't know who he is, but really wants to know more about it, and part of me is just grossed out.
Wow.
But cos function returns the cosine of a number. Okay. All right, this will be very embarrassing for our guest tonight if he doesn't get it. We were just talking about it. I mean, if I give you any more clues, I might as well just give it away. Robot in disguise, or another name for power query. What ribbon term am I thinking of?
We're talking get and transform?
Hell yes, we are. Get and transform.
Oh, transform. Okay, I get it. See, I know the term, but I'm like, why I dropped the get. Got it.
Don't overthink these. We love to
So
overanalyze.
important.
This is an opportunity to let it all go and just go with your gut. What would Oz du Soleil do? He would just say the first thing that comes to his mind. That's what I want you guys to do from now on.
I'm
Damn.
totally now going to have to start giving out transformers at my sessions.
Right?
Yeah.
You know, make some lemonade out of that one. Okay. This function kind of sounds like a fraternity name, but in the M language, this one claims to return the smallest possible number. What power query function am I thinking of? I admit this is obscure. I looked this up. I never knew it existed till today.
Fraternity.
Kind of like the equivalent of min, perhaps? Can
Fraternity.
return the smallest possible number in power query.
I can go look it up, but I don't have an answer for you.
And that is okay. There is a place that you can look up all the M language functions online, which I also discovered not too long ago. This one in particular happens to be called number epsilon.
Oh,
Have you
wow.
ever heard of number epsilon? Okay, so it is the holidays, so we couldn't play this game without a couple of holiday-themed trivia questions here. Do you guys like Sexy Santa here? Santa, okay. So, here's another power query term. It's really an Excel term, too. Santa's checking it twice, but maybe power query could help him with the vast collection of functions in this category of M functions.
List?
Category
list?
of list functions. Okay, so back to, I had no idea there were so many, but again, this is
Yeah.
there's tons of things you can do with list category functions in Power Query, and I personally can't wait to sink my teeth into them. What better time than keeping track of your shopping list for Christmas?
Is that all of them? There must be more than that.
No, this is just a partial list.
Yeah, I was going to say.
That same website, or I don't know how many you get into in your book, Ken, but there seems to be countless. I have no idea.
we actually in the Amaz for Data Monkey book, I got this question at one point when somebody said, "Do you guys cover every single function in there?" And we said, "You know what? There's over 600 Power Query functions." No. We don't cover. I mean, most of the list functions we don't cover. There's a couple of them that we do, but where you'll see them is when you're actually doing something through the user interface and you come up with them, or if you've got a specific need and you go to MSDN and you'll pick them up from there. We just teach people how to understand them so they can actually use them. So.
Okay. Well, let's see how familiar you are with those list functions, Ken, because there's one in particular that I found that I thought would be very helpful. Because, you know, hipster Santa has to worry about his man bun, so he has no time to figure out if he's got duplicates in his list, because, of course, we don't want, we don't want those overprivileged kids getting 2 presents. So if I've got a list and I want to get rid of duplicates, what's the list function in M that will help?
I'm going to say list.unique, but I'm probably wrong.
These two are so
Distinct.
cool.
Damn, so close.
Well, there you have it, folks. Wait, don't excel me. I think we got maybe 2 points, and they might have both been Ken. I don't know. Again, our Excel TV panel.
I got cosplay.
Yeah, I think you had a couple of them. I think you got me a beat on this one, Jordan.
Ooh, I don't know. I think getting cosplay actually made me the loser automatically.
Yeah, kind of. You got that like way too quickly. I
know.
Topic for the overtime.
I was so excited that I got one, not because it was cosplay.
Anyway, you're welcome, America and Canada. That was.
Next up is the Excel hot tips. Please take it away, Jordan.
This is actually a really cool thing. Now, it solves a problem, I think, that has existed for a while. Now, you notice that it may seem like my spreadsheet is sort of zoomed out, and I'm going to leave it that way to drive a point home here. I'm in the Developer tab, and I'm going to just present one of the problems that we often see. Now, I'm going to insert a radio button. I'm just going to put one right here. As you see I'm doing here, I'm just going to make another one right under it, just because I want to. Okay, so we have these two radio buttons, also known as option buttons. And if I go over here and I go to Format Control, I can assign it to a place on the spreadsheet such that when I click them, it's going to change. It's going to change this to reflect which one I've clicked on. Now, one of the problems that we have here is that you can't really do a whole lot of editing in here. You can't really increase the font. You can't really increase that little bubble. It doesn't really matter how big you make this. And for a long time, we've accepted this. And truth is, my fix here doesn't entirely fix it, but it does create a cool workaround. So that's really our problem, and it's a problem that I have with these option buttons in general, is that they're just so small, I can't change the font. If I wanted to make this bigger, I could zoom in. Or another way is I could take away this text. I could add my own label here, but that doesn't solve the problem of this little, small little circular punch, I don't know what you would call it, the radio button, the option. It's still going to be small. So I wanted to figure out a way around that, and I'm going to show you a way around that I have here. And it actually requires a very, very, very tiny amount of VBA code. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make 3 of these, and I'm just going to change the name just to make this easier. So it's just like 1, 2, 3. So that'll be a 1. And we'll make this a 2. It's always a pain to edit these as well. And we'll make this a 3. Okay, and so I've already linked it over. You see if I right-click this and I click Format Control. So we've connected these buttons. We see the Format Control dialog box. So I've connected all of them to F2. I've also named F2. Well, I will name it checkbox return value. I like really long names for whatever reason. So I've named that checkbox return value, and we're going to use that in a minute here. And so what we're going to do to make these bigger is the first thing we're going to do is I'm just going to select B4, and I'm going to click this camera tool, and I'm going to just click over here, and you see that it's made a copy. And I don't really like how it adds a border, but we'll fix that in a second. And I'm going to go to this one. I'm going to make another copy over here. So we're just taking pictures. I'll go to this one over here. And click it again. Again, we're just taking pictures, a few little happy snaps. I feel like Bob Ross right now, little happy pictures. So we can line these up however we want. The cool thing about this is that you can actually make them bigger, and we'll see I can make them any size that I want. Okay, so you're saying, great, Jordan, but what do I do next? Because that's only part of the problem. So I still have to go over here if I want to change them, or I can actually type in a number over here. Right? Well, that's actually very interesting that I can type in a number, because what we can do is we could set up macros for each of these buttons. It's going to change this number right here. So let's think about the easiest way to do this, because we really like how when we put these option buttons down, they're already in a series. It's already sort of connected. So we want to make our life as easy as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on each of these, and I'm going to rename them. So I'll call this one button 1. I'm going to call this one button 2. And this is very important how I'm doing this. I'm creating what I would call a series. So this is called button 2, and then I'm going to call this one button 3. So we have button 1, button 2, and button 3. Now, the next thing we need to do is create a way in the code to actually capture which button we're working on. And again, we want to keep the code really small because we want to make sure that we aren't doing so much extra work that we're sort of making this incredibly complicated. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the code, and I already have this sub that I have created. I say write number to response. And so what I want to do is I want to create something that will capture that number as it's coming in and write it to that cell that I've defined. So the easiest way to capture the number is to use application.caller. And I'll show you how to do that in 1 second. But the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to say dim button index because we want to create our button index. And now here what I'm going to do is I'm going to say button index equals application.caller. Now, here's one problem that we know. We have that word button in there. So if application.caller, by the way, when I click something, so let's say I click this application.caller and I've clicked, let's say, option 1 and I've linked write number to response to it, application.caller is going to give me the name of the thing I've just clicked on. So button 1, that's what it's going to return. Now, part of that we're not interested in. We're interested in the 1, we're not interested in the button. Now, we could use write or something like that to get the suffix, but that actually, 1, 2, or 3, the ending part. But, we assume that this actually could be a series that's greater than 10, so we don't really know how many digits there could be. So in that case, what we want to do is we actually want to get rid of that button word. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to type in replace. Now replace takes in a string. Application.caller is going to return the string of the name of the thing that calls this. So it's going to return button 1, button 2, button 3. So we're going to put that in there as the expression as string. What we wanted to find is button, and we want to replace it with nothing. Now that's going to return us the integer. Now, I don't think that this is necessary, but I always add it in here. So cint means convert or cast to an integer. I don't think that that's necessary. I think it will do it automatically, but I always add that in there because it reminds me what I'm doing, because it's not always intuitively clear what that replace is doing. Now that we have that button index, all we really need to do is write it to the screen. So here I have the checkbox return value. I'm going to hit Control-C to copy that. Over here, I like using the named value shorthand. I'll say dot value equals button index, like I've done right here. Okay, so let's go to our spreadsheet. Let's start linking these. I'm going to right-click this option button, go to assign macro, do the same thing here, and then do a final one here, and hopefully it works without error. Isn't it great when it always works the first time without error? So let's do it. Option button 1, oh, it worked. Option 2, option 3. Oh, hey, look at that. And you don't even, and you can, I shouldn't say you don't even need this. You do need this. You could put it on a part of the screen, however, that the user doesn't have to look at. So you can kind of put it off view, and that way you can get these option buttons as big as you want. And when I say that, I mean, whatever you want. Well, that's a little crazy. That's a little too big. There are limits of taste. But yes, this is a way you can solve that problem. And here's the thing, you can do it with checkboxes too. Checkboxes, you do have a little bit more to worry about. What I like about using it for option buttons is that we can tie it all back to one cell, as I've done right here. So once you have the setup done, you can work this pretty quickly. This is what I call in dashboards for Excel a reusable component, because once you have it working, you can add to it, you modify it. As a component, it's very easy to build in the same way that perhaps laying these option buttons out is easy. It just requires a few extra steps. So that is my tip.
So Jordan, I think it probably bears repeating, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if those original option buttons, the actual option buttons, not the pictures, should not be in a hidden column.
That's right.
The picture will disappear. So they have to be like off, I don't know,
they have
somewhere
to be,
where the user's not going to scroll to or something like that.
That's right. They do need to be off screen. So you can use the scroll area to lock it, or you can ask them nicely not to go there. You could put it on another, you could put it on another tab, and I can't remember if you put it on another tab and you hide that tab if this won't work. I think it actually might, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I would think
that might be another way.
Jordan. That would be my guess, is to cut those to another worksheet and then hide the original one.
I think that would work. But yeah,
cool.
That's how you get around it if you want really large option buttons. And who Who has not wanted those at one point in their life?
Me, but I would just use shapes and just work around the problem.
I'm a big advocate of shapes as well.
No.
So I believe, Ken, you had a tip as well?
What I'm going to do here for people that work with Power Pivot a lot, one of the things you know is that you need a calendar in order to be able to drive any kind of calendar intelligence. And one of the big challenges that's out there is, where do you get a calendar? You might be able to get one from a SQL Server routine if you have a SQL Server and a friendly IT department that can help you out. But if you don't, that can be a non-starter. If you could reach out to the internet, but if you're not always going to be connected while you're doing your work, that can also be a non-starter. You could build one in the Excel table, but that gives problems with updating. When you need to update things, you have to keep on adding new rows to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you actually one of the techniques that's in our book on how to actually create a calendar table using Power Query. I'm not going to do it exactly the same as what's in the book. I'm going to do it a little bit differently here, but regardless, there's lots of ways, and here's what we're going to do. I'm in Excel 2016. This works in Excel 2010. It works in Excel 2013. It works in it would work in Power BI Desktop as well, actually, if you uploaded the worksheet that has the range of data. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my my table here, and we'll say from table, and we'll bring this into Power Query, and we'll just wait for Power Query to load up for us. And here we go. There we go. So what we've got is we've just got the simple table here. Now, one of the things that's kind of interesting about this is that I'm actually going to get rid of this change type step, only because it's just kind of an ugly word here. What it's doing is it's actually setting the first column to text and the second one to a date. I don't need to worry about that because I'm going to be making some choices to force some things later. So I'm just going to knock that off. What gets interesting with Power Query is when you click this little FX step, you can add a new step. And it always refers back to the previous one. So this one you can see in my formula bar is referring to source. If I want to refer to a specific column in that source, I can put that in square brackets. So source value. And that would give me a record, a list that actually shows me these two values. And I can drill directly into the first one by putting in between curly brackets a 0. That will allow me to get into the first number in that specific column. And it's 0 because Power Query is 0 based. It starts counting from 0. Now that's great. I'm going to knock this step off here because I don't really need it. So we'll just right click and delete this. I just want to keep in mind here. Actually, it won't even let me delete it. Perfect. We'll go back to here. I'm going to create a new step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a custom list here. Instead of saying referring to the source, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with equals curly bracket 0 ... 10 curly bracket. And this will create a new list instead of referring back to the source. Now I should be able to get rid of that extraneous step I had. But that doesn't really help me with a calendar, but what would is if I can actually drill into this guy here and use it as my starting date. So why don't I do that? I'll go in, instead of using the 0, what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert that value to a number. To do that, I say number.from, open brackets, and then we're going to say the source step, the value, the first number that's in that area, and we'll close our bracket. So that'll give me the number starting from whatever that first date is, and as we go and look at it and say number.from, it will convert that date into the date serial number. So now I'm going to do the exact same thing for number 10 here. Oops, I don't want the ... at the end of it. I'll get rid of those in a second. There we go. But instead of grabbing the first row, I'm going to grab the second row, which in Power Query, because it starts counting from 0, that would be index of number 1. And we teach all this stuff as we go through the deep dive in the book of how to actually refer to these things. But when I hit enter, you'll see I get a big long list that goes from 41,640 all the way down to a number at the end, somewhere 708 rows later on down. No big deal. I can take this now and I can say, you know what, let's convert this list to a table by clicking this button here, and it does. And it says, all right, if you have errors, whatever. We just say, okay. I'm going to rename this to date because plainly that looks like dates, right? We're going to right-click, change type, date.
Boom.
Boom. I've now got my calendar. So let's call it calendar here because that'd be a great name for it. And now I can start going back and saying, geez, you know, I want to add the other columns that I might want. So I'll just go select the date column and go to add column. We'll go to dates, and why don't we take the, let's build a column that has the start of year. Or let's go back to date and say, you know what, let's get the date and let's get the end of the year. Or let's grab the date and let's go and grab, say, the month. And we can go and we can grab, say, the day. You get the idea of what we can do here is we can actually pull up all kinds of cool stuff. One thing you don't find in here, though, and I'm hoping this comes soon, Power Query gets updated every single month, by the way, with new features and new stuff. Just lights up with a new update one day. One of the things that's not in here is a one-click transformation to get month in the format MON. Or sorry, MON. That wouldn't work so well for month. What we're looking for is we're looking for JAN, for January. So in those cases, what we have to do is we actually have to add a custom column. And on this one here, let's go and call this one month. We'll call it, to do this, we need to say date.toText. And what we'll do is we'll take our original date, and just like Excel here, we'll say MMM, close our brackets, and say OK. And this is really confusing when you first see this, and this happens to me every single time I do this. The lowercase m is actually minutes.
Yeah,
not
I was
months.
just thinking that. Yeah.
And this totally blows my mind every time. I always get this backwards. So instead, what you got to do is you got to go with capital M's. And if you go with capital M's, boom, there we go. If you want to have this as the full month, you can go with a full-on M here. If you want to get into actually building your custom date format to exactly how you want, you can go with date.toText, and we'll grab that dates, and we'll say, let's try this one, MMMDD YYYY brackets DDD, and if all this works, we get some nice dates that are formatted exactly as we want. So this is awesome because now all we need to do if we want to load it to say Power Pivot is we'd hit close and load to, and we would choose to create only connection and add it directly to the data model if we're using 2013 or 2016, or we could load it directly to a table in a worksheet, and what you'll see is that it will go and actually build us an entire date calendar that goes from January 1st, 2014 all the way down to December 9th, 2015. Why December 9th, 2015? Because in my original calendar, I drove this with the today function. So I can actually start now building a calendar that automatically refreshes for me, that's built based on a formula set that I know and already love, which is just awesome. So there you go. There's a tip for you on how to use Power Query to do some pretty cool things.
Good tip.
Very nice.
5 srirachas.
There you go.
So that is it. The M is for Data Monkey. Go check this out with Ken Puls and Miguel Escobar.
I'll just tell you, I think that's like chapter 23 or something is where we get into custom calendars. Chapter 24 is calendar tables. Chapter 23 is parameter tables. So yeah, really useful ones.
I found myself going through the book and looking for that as you were doing it. That's pretty cool. So,
there you go.
Sylvia, I believe you had a tip as well.
Yeah, why not? Okay, so I'm just going to share my screen here, and you guys can all see that. We're back in the game, but don't worry, we're not playing. I'm just showing you an example of what I'm going to explain here. It's so simple. It is so easy. So typically when we do font colors, we think of it as all, one color, and we use our our little font menu up here in our home tab where we right-click and we change the font color. But sometimes you might want to just change one little piece of that text string. So this is all in one, well, it's a merged cell, but even if it were all in one cell, you'd have the same issue. And really, the only thing I can tell you is so freaking easy. All you have to do is just up here in the formula bar, highlight just the piece of text that you want to make a different color, and then from your favorite menu, just apply that color, right? And then you hit enter. And there you go. Now that's the. Now you can of course do different font sizes, and you can make something italic and not italic. Now if you want to get a little fancier about this, you might be wondering actually why would I ever use this other than playing wait don't excel me when you want to emphasize a part of the clue that nobody got anyway. Well, I have used this, and here's a practical application. I've changed. Server names, etc., to protect the innocent. But this was actually something I built for a fairly advanced Excel person. But they weren't so advanced that they knew how to do, for example, what I was doing here, which was using SQL code in VBA. So what I wanted to do is I wanted to give the end user, and by the way, Ken might be saying, SQL, you don't need that, you can do Power Query. But anyway,
Oh, I love
I
SQL.
digress.
Great stuff.
So what I use this technique for, and the reason I'm showing you this is to illustrate the point of where you could use a more practical application of this partial font, color scheme here, is notice how I have start date and end date in red here. The reason I put start date and end date in there is because the person who was using this template was reasonably skilled enough that I trusted them to modify SQL code, but I didn't trust them to, modify the back end of the model. So all they would have to do is go in and change. They would look for the red highlighted text and then just literally change those pieces, and then they would be able to run their SQL code. And it would import a bunch of stuff into the worksheet, which we don't obviously far too detailed to get into for this particular tip. But what I wanted to mention to you is you can use VBA to specify certain keywords, like I had here, start date and end date, and basically say, hey, if you find something that contains one of these reserved words, make those particular characters red. And how did I do that? I can provide a sample. If you are so interested, we could have this up on the Excel TV website. But it was a very handy thing to do if you're doing anything with SQL and VBA kind of integration. It was a very cool thing to build in. So that is partial font colors in a string of text in a single cell. Those are things I know.
So thank you, Sylvia. We'll get that up on the website as part of a blog post along with the video, and maybe so everyone can download that. So thank you. Next up, for the What's Up section, or what's happening in your neck of the Excel woods. Past Business Analytics Conference, which I think all four of us were there in attendance or speaking. They have a BA Business Analytics webinar marathon. So if you go to pastbaconference.com and there's a Learn Webinars, you scroll down, they're having a webinar marathon tomorrow, to where there'll be several speakers kind of back to back, 1 hour after the other. And if you scroll down here, you'll see not only Chris Webb, and we like Chris Webb, he's one of the Power Query type of guys. One of the guys are pretty well known over in the Power area. Ken Rates, we met him and actually interviewed him during the past BA conference. And look, there's Jordan Goldmeyer. So he'll be speaking tomorrow on creating outstanding dashboarding models. If you continue to scroll down, we like also Matt Allington. We saw him at the past BA conference, but I'll be speaking as well. So if you weren't able to make it to the past Business Analytics Conference in, gosh, what was that, April or May or somewhere around there, you'll get a taste of what that was like by joining these webinars tomorrow. You can register here.
I'd like to add something. If you just scroll down right below my name, real quick.
She's taking the day off of Gilligan's Island? I'm sure.
Ginger. No. So Ginger, when I was at Ernst & Young and was forced to sit through Excel training, even though they knew my background, Ginger was the Excel trainer, and she was actually she was phenomenal. So, I learned a lot. Actually, I learned some things I did not know. So, Ginger is actually a really good trainer. So I ended up meeting her through Ernst & Young.
So go check this out tomorrow. Register. This starts tomorrow morning. And so with Chris Webb up first, so go ahead and join that, and I'll be closing out the day. Next up, Model Off 2016 or 2015 is congratulations to Joseph Lau, the 2015 Financial Modeling World Champion. So we have 16 people here in the battle. Last year's champion debuted early, and we have so just go and check this out. Big congratulations to Joseph Lau, the Financial Modeling World Champion of 2015. Next up, Daily Dose of Excel has a post here about the Excel Summit South 2016. That's happening in Auckland, Sydney, Melbourne, and as you look here, man, there's just a ton of people who are just awesome in Excel. We got Zach Barisi's here, a whole bunch of MVP, Ingeborg, Mr. Excel's here. Oh, look, there's Ken Pulse.
Woohoo!
There he is. How about that?
John Peltier has been on the show. Of course, Charles Fast Excel Williams. Ken, would you mind just talking about this a little bit and what this is all about?
Yeah, so we're going down to this is cool. I actually just booked my flights and everything else too. I'm really excited about this. I've never been down to New Zealand or Australia before, so this is going to be kind of cool. So we're going down as a group. We're going to be doing a 2-day seminar with a couple of tracks there. There's going to be some financial modeling stuff. There's going to be some business intelligence kind of stuff as well. So there'll be some VBA that's thrown in. I know Charles is doing something on VBA as well. So there's going to be a lot of really good content there. There is an early bird registration pricing in effect right now. I think it's 20% off if you register before December 31st, 2015. And the actual conference itself, I mean, the dates are on the, you can throw Excel Summit South into Google and you can pick up the dates and the registrations and all that kind of stuff. But it should be really interesting. I'm looking forward to it. We've definitely got a star-studded cast to pull together for the tour, and it should be promised to be a good time and hopefully very educational for a lot of people. So
thank you for that. And if you go over to excelsummitSouth.wordpress.com, there's /register. Has the early bird discount, 20%. So just go and check this out. It seems like there's a lot of really great Excel people. This is your chance to hear them speak. Also wanted to make sure you guys were aware of the guy we're talking to today, Mr. ExcelGuru.ca. This is your website that, man, you built this out over a 10-year period, which means I've only got 8 more years with Excel TV. So thank you, thank you for that.
I think you're probably growing your audience faster than I grew mine.
Hoping for something a little more near current. Thank you. So certainly a forum over here, and like you said, you blog pretty much weekly here about here in this case identifying duplicates using Power Query.
Yep.
Okay. Also, the book, where do you find that? There'll be plenty of links on the website, on the Excel TV website, on how you get this book, but it's basically M is for Data Monkey, where we have Ken Pulse, the authors, with us today, along with Miguel Escobar. So go and check out this book. Next up, we did talk about the Power Query training website. So this is Ken and Miguel's website where they administer the training. And would you mind just talking about this? Just give me about 30 seconds and kind of explain the site a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the concept behind this whole thing is obviously we want to sort of bring the message out to the world here on how this stuff works and help people get trained on it. So the website is sort of a front end for our courses. And if you go, Rick, to the course page, we actually have just released, and about probably 15 minutes ago, the next training dates that we're going to be running are now live on that page. So we are going to be running our next intake course. If you go down the bottom right-hand corner, on February 3rd and 4th is when we're going to actually be out there starting our next session. So these are both live online days. Both Miguel and I are online running the sessions through GoToTraining. You get a recorded video afterwards of the sessions that you actually participated in, along with all of the materials. We gave you a free free digital copy of the Amaz for Data Monkey book that goes with it. Plus, a couple of weeks after the initial training dates, we also have a Q&A day where we actually ask the attendees to send in examples where they're having challenges actually applying these techniques in their own work, and we will actually go through. It's kind of like free consulting in a way. We'll go through and show how we actually, Miguel and I, approach those solutions to come up with something that actually works. So this is great because people get to see how it actually applies to their very own data and how to actually take those tips and techniques. So we're quite excited about that. One of the things that we wanted to throw out here as well as an offer for people that are watching the webcast here, if you register before December 31st with the code XLTV, we'll give you 10% off when you sign up for the next workshop. So that'll save you about $60 US. It's only $595 US for the actual workshop itself. While we're on that note, just another couple of things because I hear the dollar signs ringing here. If you go to my site and you actually click in the on the thing where it says the video course, the big yellow button that's changing on the upper left, that will take you into the categories that I have where I sell different things on my site as well. So you'd have to go back to the homepage there, Rick. Yeah, perfect. And then the big yellow button on the left where it talks about pivot table videos. There's a page there that will take you to where you can actually buy a copy of Amaz for DataMonkey and download the digital version. Should be in the top left if I recall. And if you go there, I've got a discount code that I've set up for that as well, and this one is XLTV Monkey, all one word. That'll give you $5 off if you want to download the version from my website. That comes with the PDF version, it comes with the Kindle version, it comes with the iPad version. So no matter what version of reader you want to use, you can pick up a copy there. It'll cost you $9.95 US to get the package of all three of those delivered right to your inbox. So again, the code for that one, when you go and add to cart and go to checkout, just type in the discount code XLTV Monkey, all one word, and that'll get you your $5 off there.
So is that XL as in the letter X and the letter L, or EXCEL?
No, X and L. We're going to go real shorthand to make it nice and easy to type. So just the letters. XLTV Monkey. And do you want to throw out the offer for the book as well right now, Rick? Does that work?
Yeah, let's get to that in just a second. I want to show them where they can go to do that. So let's take you over to the Excel TV website. So we talked about the coupon code. So just at our main website here, you'd see over on the right-hand side not only the book where you can go and get a copy of the book, but also the coupon code here of XLTV, so you can check that out. But up at the top, you'll see full episodes. You'll see there's a new entry here now. It's not just Excel TV, but we also have Excel in the Wild, so I want to show you what that is. Excel in the Wild is the new show, the Excel TV show from Amaz du Soleil. So we'll be hosting all of that here. So the introduction is here, the first blog post associated with that, where Oz talks to you about what you can expect, in episodes as they start to get released here over the next few weeks. So we're starting off season 1, and the introduction is out there now. Next up, if you were to have gone to full episodes Excel TV season 2, you would have come to Ken's episode. Now in Ken's episode, we'll end up filling this out, but there are all the links here to be able to get his book, the Power Query training website, and even if you were just to click on this banner, you would get to the Excel TV code, and I believe now it's Excel TV Monkey. If you want to get the book.
Excel TV Monkey for the ebook from my site, Excel TV from PowerQuery.training. So that's correct. That'll do you there.
So we'll update the links here, and you can watch the video here. But here's what I want to bring your attention to. Down here in the comments section, there's a special offer here from Ken Puls. So Ken, would you mind talking about the contest and how somebody can get involved in this?
Yeah, so what we thought we'd do, or what I thought I would do here is I've got a real nice copy of this book sitting right here, and I thought, it would be kind of cool if I could maybe autograph this and send it to somebody who and help them change their life in the way that they work with Excel. So here's what we want to do is we'd like you to actually come back and give us a story of what's the most difficult thing you've ever had to do in Excel. How did it work? What did you have to do in order to make stuff work? And what we're going to do is we're going to throw it back to the Excel TV crew here. They're going to pick the winner who had the best, the hardest life, the best story that goes through that. And what we'll do is I'll autograph the book and I'll send you a copy of this so that you've got your very own hard copy, an autographed copy of Amaz for DataMonkey that will hopefully change your life and make your Excel life a whole heck of a lot easier. So that's what we want to throw out there for you guys today. So please leave a comment, share your story with us.
So lives are getting changed here on Excel TV.
Mm-hmm.
One analyst at a time, and where you go to make that happen is you go to the Excel TV website. You just come down here in the comments section and leave a comment on the most difficult thing that you've done in Excel, and the Excel TV crew here will pick a winner. So with that, I'd like to now go to our next segment. Where can you find us? Well, gosh, we're all over the place. But in addition to that, we're also on YouTube. Surprise, surprise. Bet you didn't know that. On YouTube, let's go back and walk you through that. On YouTube, some really cool things happening here. So on YouTube, in the last year, what we've done is we've stopped sending everyone to our YouTube account, instead starting to send them to our website where the YouTube, where the videos are hosted. So we just got to bring in and embed that into our site. What I want to bring your attention to is so far this year, we're at 93,000 views so far. That's just for the calendar year so far. So we're pushing up on 100,000 views. So I'd appreciate if you go to, I don't know, if you're at if you're at a Walmart, just go over to the TV section and just go ahead and search for us on all the computers. Just bring up the YouTube channel, Excel TV. Send it out, spam all of go to the excelguru.ca forum and just spam the heck out of that. And send everybody over here and get some YouTube views over. We're looking to pass 100,000 views for the calendar year.
I would prefer that people weren't spamming my forum, thanks, but we want to keep that relevant for people.
Right? but to be honest with you, I don't mind if you do. So tell Rick that it was okay. But also, Ken, where can people find you outside of your website and everything else? Where can people get a hold of you if they were looking to engage with you?
You know what? You can find me on LinkedIn. If you search for Ken Puls, you'll pull me up there. I'm on Facebook. I have a Facebook page at facebook.com/XLGuru, all one word, and that's just the letters XLGuru. I'm on Twitter. It's at KPuls, which is KPULS, as in Sam, like in my last name. On my website, I mean, probably the place to find me most is on my blog, because I'm definitely posting something new on my blog every week. So that's just excelguru.ca/blog. Lots of different methods, lots of different means. So those are probably the most common ones.
Well, thank you, Ken. Well, gosh, Ken, the last time I saw you in person was, I believe, the Past Business Analytics Conference in April or May or whenever that was. At that time, I asked you, I said, so when are you going to make the jump? And you jumped to, kind of doing your own thing kind of full time, and your answer was, Rick, whenever I get home.
Yeah, pretty much that was about it, wasn't it? I think I was about a week before I'd actually already given my notice, and I had 1 week left at that point when I saw you last year. That's right.
Oh man, so I was, and since then you've been living my dream. And so, congratulations! Seems like you've made some really big life changes, and to know that I'm only 8 years away from that is inspiring at best. So,
I think you can do it earlier, Rick. You just got to put your mind to it. I didn't try that hard, so.
Okay. Well, Ken, thank you so much for being on the show. We appreciate that, and everybody can get in contact with you at powerquery.training, also excelguru.ca, and go over there to Amazon and check out that book. M is for Data Monkey on your newsstand.
Thanks, man. Appreciate that.
So go check that out, and thank you again. And so until next time, we're going to have one more episode this year, so that'll be in the next few weeks. That'll be announced shortly, and then we will close out Season 2, 40 full episodes. Good Lord, that happened. It's about to happen. Until next time, this is Rick Grantham with Sylvia Uhas and Jordan Goldmeyer reminding you to keep on excelling. We'll see you next time.